Okay, so hello, who's ever's watching, because this is going to be on the VOD channel. So hello, people who are usually on the VOD channel, but also hello, who I can't believe I've started on the intro already. But hello, anyone who's come from Reads with Rachel, because this will be in the title that I'm reacting to this video. And the reason I'm reacting to this video is because Reads with Rachel is actually covering my book, The Sharpened FANGS, A Lupine Spirit. Hi, hello, I am HG Sansostri. It's me, the prolific, famous author that no doubt you all know of so much. I want to clarify because I know Reads with Rachel has specific rules and perspectives on authors being in review spaces. I did check with Rachel that it would be okay for me to be in the video to react to it, to watch the video in a public way, and to not give my thoughts, but also just be able to react to it, because there are some people in my community who have been reading my book and they'd want to see the video as well, I guess, in a react format. I will be talking over it, I will be interrupting it a lot, so I will post the link to it down below in the description. This video came out early for the patrons. I'm recording it when it's still only available for the patrons, but I'll put it up once it's available for everyone, because of course I don't want to be scabbing the right word, but just undercutting Rachel here, because she puts it out early for the patrons for a reason. That's her pay model. But yeah, I'm very thankful that Rachel wanted to take on my work. I commissioned her back in December, I believe, and she very diligently has read through the first book, and she put up a good reads review, a summary, and she seemed to like it. She seemed to really enjoy it. So I think it's 4 out of 5 stars she gave, which is, to me, that's the baseline. I don't really want to go lower than that, but 4 out of 5 stars I'm really thankful for. That's solid. Well, not even solid, that's brilliant. That's great. She really enjoyed it, clearly. But I'm looking forward to what she's going to say with this. If there is anyone here for Vostramar that is interested in the series, God, I'm the author, so it sounds a bit up my own ass. I would compel you to read the first one, because I genuinely think is quite good. I think I've done quite well, and I think if you get into the series, I think you'll really enjoy it, or I hope you'll really enjoy it. I always struggle to try and sell myself on that stuff, to try and pitch it without sounding like I'm up my own ass. But anyway, what I will say is the second book is out. Just as a short update, unfortunately, due to issues my publisher has been having, and if I'm honest, as unprofessional as it sounds, haven't really been seeing to their side of a contract with the logistics of printing and everything, there was a lot of formatting errors of the book. It came out January 2nd. People who have been waiting for pre-orders, or rather signed copies for me to send out from the author copies, haven't been able to get them for the last 3 months because of issues my publisher caused. They're still, I'm hoping, fixing it. It's been a while. But if you are going to get into the series, just please do keep in mind that the second book right now is in a bit of a tumult from the publisher's end. There is my book account, Official Vostramar, that I will also link in the description if you'd like to see that. That's where you can get all major updates on the series, when the next book has come out, and so on. But yeah, I just wanted to update in case people were gonna... I told Rachel, we actually had this conversation. I explained to her the situation, and I asked her when the video would come out, and she said, oh, it would come out in April. It was something similar, in a couple of months. And I thought that would be plenty of time. And still, the publishers are... Next Chapter Publishing, I don't know what they're doing. So, again, it sounds very unprofessional of me, but it's quite the big mess-up that's been caused, and... yeah, I won't get too much into that, though, because otherwise it just ends up being an update video on the condition of a series, but we're not here for that. We're here to watch the video. So, actually, hold on. I wonder if I can get it where we get the... Can I get it to the thumbnail? Because there's a thumbnail here. I really want to see. Okay, I'll try and put that in the thumbnail. Her thumbnail I'll put in mine, because the thumbnail for it is really funny. Okay, anyway, let's read. Let's watch.
Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're doing another one of those
Hold on, wait, have we got this on max quality? We do, okay.
times where I say, what the frick did I just read? Full transparency, all of these were commissioned by the authors of the books. It does not mean that I'm not going to be honest, just something I want to be upfront about. I recently did a video where I had said, I was talking about the author who faked her death thing. I said it a couple of times because I have the tendency to repeat myself in the video.
I've got to say, every video, Rachel lands on her makeup, I've got to say. I love it. I'm not a guru, but I love the lipstick.
Yo, I'm not a journalist, and people took issue with me saying that I was trying to not be accountable. Respectfully, I disagree. That's not why I was saying that. I was saying that it's not that I have no responsibilities as a content creator. I absolutely do. I just don't think that I have the same responsibilities as a journalist. And I think one of those responsibilities that I have is to be honest when I have a paid sponsorship, which now even YouTube makes me check a little box saying that this ad or this video contains an ad, which I think is a good thing. I think that full transparency for content creators is really important. I also think that I need to say every single time when I got commissioned by the author to read a book. Sometimes I get commissioned by like somebody who liked the book or like a friend of the author. When an author commissions me from now on, I'm going to be saying every single time I was commissioned by the author. Not because I'm being dishonest about my thoughts, but just because other people might feel like that's information that they want to take into account when I'm reviewing things, because you guys are consumers and you have the right to educated and full transparency consumership. Anyway, that's one of my responsibilities as a content creator. I do have responsibilities. They are just not the same responsibilities as journalists. And one of those is being honest about what I get paid to do and when I get paid. Today we're talking about 3 books.
Okay, now I just have to pause real quick because I've watched a lot of Rachel's videos. I put them on in the background when I'm doing stuff typically, but sometimes when I'm eating, I'll sit and watch. And I've got to say, it's given such like a weird insight to the book community, because the fact with every video she's had to, I think, put a footnote or a disclaimer or clarify some manner of tumult that's come up beforehand over something really innocuous. I'm here like, wow, people really get mad at Rachel for no fucking reason. I mean, she's spoken about the whole authors in review space stuff, and at first I was like, I don't understand that. Surely if you're putting up a video reviewing something, the author's going to find it. Why, shouldn't they be able to watch it? And then the authors she's talking about are fucking awful people. Like, we're not even talking the authors behaving badly kind of people. We're talking like people who would see her be negative about their book and will just start harassing her, harassing friends of her, people who watch her. Like that's the level of pettiness we're at. So it's a real shame that the book community, I didn't think it was that turbulent, the book community, or rather the reading. I don't know, but books are so applicable to the entire human race. The book community is quite a wide group, but you get what I mean. I guess booktube, book talk, that kind of thing is weird, but anyway.
Should we go first ones first or last ones first? First of all, I need to apologize to all these authors. I am really behind on my commissions. If you watch my channel and you've commissioned me, again, I'm really sorry. I am still catching up. I have turned off my commissions. I don't know when I'm turning them back on at this point. I am really behind and I'm really sorry. My husband left for 9 weeks for a work trip, and he will come home to this house possibly on fire because everything's a shit show. I'm so behind. I'm doing my best. Let's just start with the most recent one, honestly, because that one's the freshest. The first one I'm going to talk about is Reality Breaker by...
Okay. You know what? No, I was going to be like, oh, we'll watch through my part, and then we will just leave the rest of it. I'll watch it my own time. But you know what? I'm actually down to watch the whole video. I'll watch the whole video.
Daniela A. Knollwood. And first of all, I'm so stupid. I know you guys hate when I say that, but truly, like, this is one of the stupidest things ever. I looked at this cover over and over and over again thinking, wow, what great abstract art. That is obviously a fucking reptile. What's wrong with me?
How did you see that?
Like, what did I... Oh, wow. What? Oh my god. This is a pretty short... It's not... I would say it's probably, what, like 250,
I do like the cover, though.
300 pages, possibly. It came out last year, and it is a short and sweet, but really fun and unique sci-fi adventure that does a lot of things that I really love to see in sci-fi, but also doing them with a unique spin, and also reptiles. Reptile DNA stuff. I don't know what I was expecting when I opened this, but it was not what I got in the best way. I thought that, first of all, the start of this, I'm going to be very honest, as I do, was really rough. The start with it, I ended on a great note. I loved it, but that first chapter, I read that shit and I was so fucking confused because we're throwing out a lot of terms, hoping that the reader will like stick around to get an explanation for them. But because the first scene, the first chapter is so incredibly packed full of action, all of it went right over my head. So authors, if you're watching this, I would recommend not doing that. I would not recommend shoving a whole lot of terms that are important into a first scene. If that first chapter is full of action, your reader's going to feel like they are walking through a minefield, and explosions are going off, but they're blindfolded. I don't recommend doing that.
I actually had someone say something opposite of this, which I agree with Rachel here. I disagree with the person who said opposite. Someone read my book, and the book I've written is it high fantasy? I don't know the exact genre terminology or jargon, but it's fantasy with animal people, which I'm sure no one is surprised by if you follow any of the works I do. But someone was talking about how like, oh yeah, you're bad at world building or whatever because like, why is there not all this new stuff being explained right now? That was the I can't remember exactly what they said. It was more eloquent than that, but the implicit message was the world building's bad because we're not getting every single aspect of world building explained to us right now. And I guess that sort of relates to this here, because imagine you open the first, the first chapter, the prologue of a book, and then you are just getting a history lesson of the world building, just ongoing, just constantly going on. It becomes almost like a list. You're just getting listed off features of a world rather than being put into or having the characters put into situations where it's then convenient to explain it, kind of thing. And also, what I'm writing is a 7-book series, so world building, you kind of want that to be spread out a lot more than in a standalone novel. In a standalone novel, even then you have to spread it out throughout the duration of that. But in a 7-book series, you have different locales and different places and different things going to happen. And it's more convenient and makes more sense in regards to, temporally how it's close to that, to bring up the world building there, as opposed to just at the beginning of a book, oh, here's a brief 10-page history on the whole world, So I agree with that. I agree with a lot of what Rachel says anyway.
But the rest of it, I had a blast. Disagree. I had a fucking blast. Let me give you the actual synopsis, because me trying to explain this is not, as usual, I'm so good at explaining what books are about. So good at it. How is this my job? For years, the forces of Earth have been tampering with genetics, constantly refining and exploiting their breakers, humans with varying measures of alien DNA. During a routine mission, Breaker Sierra is attacked by a Zoa construct horde and is nearly overwhelmed. She's saved at the last minute by handsome Desmond Caro, a radio operator who's had his eye on her for some time. Neither Sierra nor Desmond know about the terrible secret nestled deep within the Breaker ranks, but when a superior officer orders Desmond to assassinate Sierra, they both know something is deeply wrong. As they traverse the labyrinthine interior of an occupied Zoa moon, they unravel the mystery piece by piece while falling for each other in the process. Their investigation turns into a race against time when they discover the horrible truth about Sierra's creation. Without assistance, nothing less than humanity's very existence is at stake. With seemingly no one to turn to for help, their problems are compounded by the appearance of a being called the Reality Breaker, who only wishes to see a grim prophecy fulfilled. My only complaint about this, other than like the first chapter not quite doing what it needs to do, as far as like, if you're a cover buyer and you don't read the synopsis, the first chapter is going to feel like, what the fuck is going on? Nothing's being explained. Because what happens is Sierra, our main character, is on a mission, and then all of a sudden it goes to shit. There's these like lizard aliens who are coming for her. Her partner, who she was on this, mission with, dies. She's on her way out. These things are coming for her. And you're getting all these terms thrown at you, like breaker, etc., Zoa, and you don't know what the fuck they mean. And because it's such an explosive first chapter, such like a huge inciting incident, you're like, wait, hold on. So if you don't read the synopsis, you're going to be confused. So I recommend like doing a little bit more description within that first chapter, just in case any reader has not read your synopsis. Other than that though, my only complaint about this outside of that first chapter is I just wish that this was longer. That's it, because I loved the stuff that was in it. I just wish that we could expand. There was some really cool...
That is the best criticism to get, because I've criticized Deadbolt, for instance. For those who don't know, Deadbolt's a game made by Hoppu Games. It's unreal. I know we're talking about books and now I brought up a video game, but anyway. My one critique of that is it's just too short, and I think that is the best critique to get, because it's not even a critique, it's just a lingering. It's like, unless it's a pacing issue, which can also be related, but when someone goes, oh, you know, the one thing I dislike about it is it's too short, I wanted more, and you're like, yes, what I made there was good enough that people want to go more with it. So
cool stuff in here, but there's stuff that really appeals to me personally. Like on a personal level, there's shit that I really like. Something that I love in fiction, and I can't make a list of recommendations to you because it would spoil it. Something I love in fiction is when a character or the main character or two main characters, one of them does not remember that they have a secret past with the other. That, I eat that shit up. Especially if you don't reveal it until later. Oh my god. Stop it. Stop it. And the thing is, I like being surprised.
I don't know why I really like that. Oh my god, stop it.
Surprised by it. So like, you can't go in my comments and be like, you'll love blah blah blah, because if I already know it, like you can, but it lessens the impact of how much I love it. And I can't sit here and say, hey, by the way, there's this book I read last year that does this, and it doesn't let you know it's happening until way later, and then it all comes together and you're like, oh my god, I love this. Anyway, so sorry to go off on that tangent. This reveals it pretty much up front that Desmond knows Sierra. I love this dynamic. I almost wish though that we had waited a little bit until we were several chapters in and Desmond was revealed to not only be charged with killing Sierra by her uppers, but then reveals, by the way, I'm not gonna kill you because I knew you before you were this version of you.
Oh. That's some Outer Worlds shit.
Oh, that's that good shit. God, fill this cup with it and I'll drink it. Oh, by the way, sorry, my makeup today is Pan Pride Flag Vibes, as requested by my patrons. If you would like to
oh, the patrons could request makeup. That's cool.
Request a makeup look. All you have to do is join Patreon and then go in the Discord and then go in the skincare and makeup thing and say, hey, do this. And then
I think my friend might have actually sorry, that's a very unflattering angle to pause that on. I think my friend's in the Discord. No, my friend is definitely in the Discord. Writer A, who I think's already watched this video and sent it to me. I got the link to it beforehand, and then Writer A sent it to me in my Discord. But yeah, I'm sure. I think Writer has then contributed on that front, because Writer loves reading with. I forget. I'm literally watching a video and I forget the channel name. Reading with Rachel. Rachel reads. Oh, I'm so bad with that. I do it with Lou Reads as well, because Lou's also someone who's also going to make a video on the book. Lou Reads, Reading with Lou. I'm so awful with remembering that. I forget the name of my own channel sometimes, man.
Desmond is tasked with killing Sierra,
again, nice
but he knew her before she was Sierra. God, I don't even remember her name. Anna, I think? And Anna signed up to become a breaker, which is a human with variants in their like varying measures of DNA, so that they're able to like have like superhuman abilities. He saves her on this planet. They go back to home base, and then he's tasked with killing her. So they fly off, and there's this other breaker named Alpha who doesn't say anything for, you know, like the first little part of the book, but is just sort of watching. And that was so creepy, thinking about this like part alien lizard, part human person just watching with their white eyes, just observing everything that goes on and refusing to speak. Very unsettling. Very unsettling. Gotta eat that shit up in sci-fi. I really do. Desmond and Sierra fly off. He's like, by the way, I'm supposed to kill you. We're in like a radio zone where they can't hear us. Just to let you know, I'm supposed to kill you. I'm not going to, okay? What do you want to do? So they fly off to this Zoa planet, and they're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Why are they trying to kill Sierra off? They find some caves on on the Zoa planet with language, and they're like, I think we should decipher this language. I feel like we should put our heads together and also our other parts together, because they start having sex. And let me tell you, it was quick. Like, they really quickly, she was like, by the way, like, I'm attracted to you. And he's like, yeah, well, we like had like a romance before you were this version of you. She's like, oh, okay, dope. Do you want to fuck? Basically. And I was like, you know what? On the one hand, it's really fast. On the other hand, I respect it. And the sex scenes were actually good. Like, I appreciated them. They weren't disgusting. They were like well written. I appreciated Daniela's ability to write sex scenes. Like, yes, did they jump in quick? Sure. Quicker than normally I'm like, oh, this is happening so fast. Here, it didn't really bother me. And it was well written. I was pleasantly surprised by these sex scenes. Go Daniela. That's kind of a big deal for me. Somebody commented recently, what book with sex scenes do you like? And I was like, wow, I, off the top of my head, cannot answer this person's comment because I don't remember. I'm really picky about language and sex scenes. So this is one, if you're watching, this is one that I liked, I guess. I don't know, books don't really do it for me, so like my baseline is like to not be disgusted and be like, oh, good for them. That's really it. So they're trying to figure out the mystery, and they're figuring out that basically the humans are doing exploity things. I'm not going to go into detail, I don't want to spoil it for you. The ending went by so quick. They find out there's somebody named a reality breaker, and they are, you know, traversing this planet. It all happened so incredibly fast. That sweet spot in the middle was like, and the ending like was, it wrapped it all up, and it was, you know, technically satisfying. I just feel like we got there very fast, but I really enjoyed the dynamic between Desmond and Sierra. I mean, in general, just like, that's my thing, is when somebody knew you before you were you and you don't remember, and I kind of love that a lot. So this does stuff that I really like. I also just really like sci-fi, so this is my shit. It's kind of my shit. Nice. I would rate this.
I also love this cover.
With the technical issues, I don't want to give it a 4, but like with the parts in it that I loved, and like actually well-written sex scenes, having dynamics that I love, having this like villainous alpha character that I'm like, oh god, you're kind of scaring the shit out of me even though you're not saying anything. I don't want to give it a 3, but a 3.5 also kind of feels too low. We're gonna settle for like a 4. I'm feeling generous today, but also like I just have read so much bad shit that like let's just call it a 4. I recommend it if you like sci-fi, if you like those dynamics, and if you like shorter reads. Eat this shit up. You're gonna like it. If you like Halo, and no, just Halo, particularly that new Halo show, which me and Carlos really like, and also my brother, but I hesitate to recommend a book to my brother that has sex scenes in it. That just feels weird. Is that my purity culture like foundational roots coming through? Probably. If you like the new Halo show, if you like Halo, you should read this. I think you're gonna like it. If you're a sci-fi girly, be you, you know, man, woman, or NB. If you're a sci-fi girly, pick it up. Okay, let's talk about the sharpened fangs of LUPINE.
It begins. Oh god. Okay. Now we're on the meat. Now we're on the meat of the review. Okay. Oh boy. Oh man. I do not do well with I don't do well with this. I don't know. It's so weird. When someone acknowledges, because whenever I make something, it's just like, oh, I make it, and then I forget like people can react to it and like understand that I made it, and then come to me to give their thoughts, and not even in the sense of they come to me and go, it's shit, it's awful, never do it again, but more so in the sense of like, hey, I really enjoyed it, and I don't know how to respond. Like I don't know. I don't want to come off as self-important up my own ass. Simultaneously, I don't want to come off like weird. So, I mean, even like this is me assuming that everything Rachel's gonna say is glowing. I'm sure there's some criticisms here, but I just don't know. Oh god, it's like I used to do acting as a kid, and whenever someone would show me like a commercial I'd been in, or like a clip of a play I'd been in, I just couldn't watch it. It's like hearing my own voice. I'm not a mess. I don't know. I'm weird about it. But anyway, all right, let's just do it. Let's stop being a coward.
Lupine Spirit by H.G. Sansostri. H.G.
Almost. You were so close. Almost. You were actually so close.
The Sharpened Fangs of Lupine Spirit by H.G. Sansostri.
Oh, that's the Sansostri. That was so close.
H.G. has been publishing books since the age of 14. Isn't that wild? Amazing.
Wait, oh my god, did she look into that? No way. Oh, I just thought she'd like see the book and be like, oh, okay. But she actually, oh, that's sick. I have been since the age of 14. Yeah. Well, like, Little Dudes came out when I was 12. So 12, I guess, but 14 Chronicles was like the first serious attempt at fiction. So yeah, 14 I'd say.
And the thing about this is that I would recommend it to younger readers, like 14, 15-year-old readers. Like, this is a really good age range for that. Or if you enjoy books that appeal to that, like, audience, which I read all age genres. What? Age ranges. So I can get down with anything, but like if you're looking for a book for like a 14, 15-year-old in your life, particularly a dude, I would give this to them. I wish my brother had literally any boys. Instead he had all girls, and my kids are too young to read this. We're still reading friggin' Pout Pout Fish and the PJ Masks 5-minute stories that are sitting over there. So anyways, I would buy this for when my kids are older. I think they're really gonna like it.
I'm in.
Snowy recesses of the clan of Great Lupine, buffeted by chilling winds and unrelenting snow, live Corsair and Ragnar Sedrid, skilled tournament fighters and sons.
It's so surreal hearing this read out. Sorry, I'm gushing a bit. Sorry.
Of the prestigious Winter Baron. When war's thunderous howl sounds in the east, the brothers are ripped away from their lives of warmth and peace and marched into the chaos of combat in the name of their people. The only comfort they carry is vested in each other and their steeds, the stoic Harangoth and loyal Quickpaw. But the bloodshed of warfare is the least harrowing trial facing the Sedrid brothers. Malevolence wreaks havoc out of sight. Figures speak of conspiracy in the shadows, and a single will, so determined to fulfill its duty, inflicts atrocity and malice of incomprehensible proportions. Vostramer hosts many more evils than the two wolves can ever begin to fathom, and their journey is just beginning. Also, like, not bad of a cover, huh? Okay, so
yeah, it's fucking good. That's Adam J. Pickering's work. I'm a massive... Adam J. Pickering fucking knocked out the part of that cover. Oh, I love it.
You know how, like, in Robin Hood, Disney's...
Here it is. This was the part of a Goodreads review.
Robin Hood, the animals are, like, walking around and are very anthropomorphized. This is that. It's not the plot of Robin Hood. I'm just saying, like, you know how they're, like, walking around and they're...
Herding Little John walking through the forest, laughing back and forth at what the other has to say.
They're doing sword.
I actually find it so interesting the different ways people, visualize it. The anthropomorphic animal people, because to me, I visualize it when I'm writing it in a more gritty style, but absolutely it would be cartoon, it would be caricaturized. I don't visualize them as very realistic, but like the cover, I really like the cover, and that's the symbol I wanted, you know, the sword for the wolf's head coming up the mouth, but that is not how they'd like look in my head. That's not how they look to me when I'm describing them or anything. I think it's a lot more of a heavy line style. People who watch my stuff know I'm a massive fan of Darkest Dungeons art, as well as people like Stedornik. I'm a big fan of art that has like sort of heavy lines and everything. But so it'd be around that. But I find it really interesting. People visualize it differently. Like some people may see it more realistically. Like if they think of a wolf man, they will literally think of, you know, the anatomically correct, absolutely, you know, one-to-one depiction of a wolf person, of a wolf as a person, rather. But some other people also think of it even more cartoony way than I would think of it, which is, Disney's Robin Hood. And I think that's crazy. It's just so interesting to see all the different interpretations people have in their head of it. But that is, yeah, I honestly didn't expect someone to say that, but I'm chuffed with that because I loved that film as a kid as well.
Words in there, you know, Robin Hood, that movie, it's that. And honestly, I had fun picturing all this like this way, even though it's not like supposed to be a fun book, it's supposed to be serious. I was playing it all out very much in like Disney animation. And honestly, that made me have a better time with it. But I can see that like readers of like very adult fantasy who prefer humans might be put off by this, but if you're down to like watch a violent Disney movie in your head, say no more, friend.
Yes, no one sits higher than the king. Must I remind you, yes?
I gave this a 3.5. I think that this was HG's debut, and this is, for a debut, this is good work for a debut.
Yes, I need to replay it for my ego, sorry.
Debut, and this...
Mind you, yes?
I gave this a 3.5. I think that this was HG's debut, and this is, for a debut, this is good work for a debut.
Fuck yeah. Oh, okay, alright. That's it. I can retire now.
Like, damn good work. Because I think that for somebody to be able to depict, like, the horrors of war this well in a book where I'm imagining fucking Disney anthropomorphized animals... As a debut, you're doing pretty good work here, man. Like, you really have these moments where you're making your characters, like Corsair, really have to cope with and grapple with the consequences of killing. So war was a theme that I thought was done really well. But the masculinity stuff in here, like the discussions about masculinity, I was really surprised by. Like, for a young guy, having discussions about the theme of, like, masculinity, this was really surprisingly good, especially like how masculinity is handed down from you from your parents and how that affects like the shaping of masculinity, which is why, like, as a mom of boys, I find it so important to read bell hooks and to implement
I hear bell hooks said all the time. Noah Sampson brought it up a lot in his videos as well. That's very interesting. I clearly need to read that book. Noah Sampson's read it, Hassan Abi's read it, Rachel's brought it up now. I need to check it out, bell hooks. Sorry, let me rewind because I've interrupted mid-sentence, but yeah, I also, like, this has come up quite a lot. The one key moment, of course, for this video, spoilers for the book, is if you haven't read it, sorry, I should have started that at the beginning. If you haven't read Sharpened FANGS and you want to read it, don't listen, not to Rachel's review, but to me, because I'm probably going to say stuff at spoilers. But anyway, spoiler warning. There's a conversation that Axel, who's Axel Arion, who becomes a friend of Corsair and Ragnar in Crossguard training, that they have, and Axel's got like a sort of plaited braided tail, and Axel's like, oh yeah, it's not very masculine, my sister's kind of, wanted me to do it, it's family tradition, it's not very masculine, all of that, and then Corsair's like, yeah, but who cares, masculine's what you want it to be, or how you want to appear is how you want to appear, and Axel's like, oh, thank you, and that, to me, is the pinpoint of that, and that was, I'm glad people have found so much meaning in regards to that theme or that sort of topic or whatever, because to me it was just a moment of like, I don't know how to explain it, my own view, but also just like oh yeah, this guy, this male wolf guy has got like something that is stereotypically seen as feminine, like the Rohija, who's the cubhood best friend of Corsair, has a lot of tie-offs along her jaw and all of that, so it's seen as more of a female thing, but a masculine guy's doing it, and that's completely fine, and that doesn't sway you or your identity. That's how you want to appear, and there's no harm in it, and that's how Corsair responds. But it's really nice to hear that also led people to have a lot more, not introspection, but to see that across the book even more. Because if I am completely honest, like, that was the one point of deliberate effort to have that in. The rest of it, I think, is just maybe me subconsciously writing it or other people finding subjective interpretation. And that, I love that. That's great. I'm glad she really... I saw a comment on the video that was in line with this, that was, I want to get the Sharpened FANGS for my teenage boys because I think it would be good for them to read that. And that is genuinely a massive fucking honor to have. So I'm really happy this was such a poignant, I forget my T sometimes, poignant note for Rachel.
Boys, I find it so important to read bell hooks and to implement practices that don't pass on those things. I wish that somebody had done that for these dudes in this book, these wolves, these anthropomorphized good boys. Like, the absolute abusive, honestly, use of fatherhood, I felt was like very self-aware for a dude to be writing this. I was very pleasantly surprised. But you see Corsair constantly trying to, in spite of the psychological and sometimes like physical abuse of his father, Arthur, you see him still trying to get Arthur's approval. And I thought that was just really self-aware, really good understanding of like how toxic masculinity works, where you're constantly trying to prove your masculinity to a more masculine authority than you. I was really pleasantly surprised. Really I guess I should tell you a little bit about the actual world and not just like the themes and the plot. Sorry. We start out with a prologue. It tells you that this is a world where there's been a lot of war. There are Ophilusians, which are like domesticated dogs, but there's like the anthropomorphized like wolf people called the Lupines, which Corsair is. There's the land of Moon and Sun, Sun and Moon, which is rabbits, and there's the Silver Claws, which is felines. So we've got like, again, a Robin Hood situation going on.
Oh, I love this film
Robin
as a kid.
Hood, but dark. Grimdark Disney. And Corsair Cedrid is the son
Disney.
of...
That's going in the fucking video title. Grimdark Disney.
Arthur Cedrid, who is the Winter Baron. So they're like the uppers. Whoa. They're like the uppers, like the royals of the Lupines. And Corsair has a brother named Ragnar. And then war is looming with the land of Sun and Moon. Speaking of which, that's one of the issues
Here we go. Okay.
I felt like we could have really dived in more into the like the political aspects here.
That was something Lou said as well. Yeah, that's fair enough. Lou said that as someone who likes political intrigue, they felt that it was kind of stifled the political intrigue on the front of the war. I can't say whether that will come up more or not later in the series, because of course I don't want people then sitting here going, oh, he's going to bring it up more, and having people have that expectation. It comes up. You know, I'll try and tell the story to the best of my ability, but I understand political intrigue. It's quite a big invitation for a lot of people. Yeah, I think because we're diving into the criticisms now, I want to say, not as an excuse, but more so as an explanation, that I had been writing this over and over again since I was like 16. I started this in my GCSE year, where I was like, it was 2017, and then I did the first book of it, and then oh god, it was actually so bad that I would write, it's a 7-book series, I think 2017 I was writing a book a month. That's how much I was really into writing this. I wrote the first 5 books, didn't like how that turned out, restarted, did it up until book 3, restarted. So I did like overall restarts like about 4 times. And I think because the first book was the most preserved in what was going to happen in regards to the events. So across all the different restarts, the overall arc of the plot stayed the same. So some of the stuff that I would have been more aware of being a potential flaw just kind of became a blind spot to me, because I've become so familiar with it that I'd stop. It's like how when you edit your work right after making it, you become blind to a lot of the errors that are there because you're so exhausted with working with it. And I wasn't ever exhausted working with the series or Sharpened Fangs, because I love Sharpened Fangs. I mean, again, she says it's a damn good debut, and even in lieu of some of the flaws, because other people have read it and other people love it, but also said, oh, I didn't like this part or that part. Like some people said for the battle scene they weren't a massive fan of in this, they didn't think it was that good. Others say that there's one which I'm surprised Rachel didn't bring up. There's like a cringe line in prologue where Ophelia is giving birth, and I don't even want to repeat. Like, it's not awful. It's not like Sarah J. Maas cringe, but like it's just like, that's a line I wrote in the very, very first bit, and throughout the iterations I kept because I thought genuinely it was good. And then when people pointed it out to me, I had just like this brain blast of realization where like my mind cleared, and I was like, yeah, shit, that is cringe. Why did I keep that in? So yeah, the political intrigue stuff, I think if I hadn't have been with the first book in the almost same condition for so long, for over several years, I think I would have picked up and would have changed some stuff. But anyway, sorry, again, this is an explanation. I'm not trying to excuse or be like, oh, it's not truly criticism because of this. Like, criticism's criticism. I'm thankful for it, and I take it on board.
I feel like if you're basically doing like Game of Thrones but animals, well, not really. It's not Game of Thrones. If you're doing like this high of fantasy, but with, but Robin Hood, I feel like we could have dived in more. Okay. I don't know what that would take in this particular case. Like, I guess maybe you'd have to have like multi-POV beyond, I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I feel like we could have dived in a little more there. But again, I just was really not expecting to go into this, seeing like the first couple chapters where it's like...
No.
First of all, it starts with like a birth scene.
No, oh. No. She did see the birth scene. Oh, God. I haven't got a webcam on, but just for the record, for the next 10 seconds, I am covering my face in my hands. Like, I can't listen.
Scene of Corsair, which was, like, really awkward. Like, the dialogue here in this book is not great. Particularly that first scene, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know if that's on purpose, because it's like, you know, they're not human. They're anthropomorphized animals.
It's not.
If that was supposed to be, like, on purpose, or,
it's just,
you know, it was
shit
written
writing.
when somebody was really young. So, I don't know. I don't know if that was on purpose. The dialogue is a little weird. I will tell you that. But I just was not expecting to go into this book, see such a great exploration of war and grappling with feelings and grappling with masculinity and feeling like you have to appease your abusive father. I was just not expecting that. So it's really hard for me to like deviate from even talking about like the rest of it. Like, the pacing was kind of wonky. It didn't really stay, and I feel like parts of it were just kind of like a little redundant. I felt like we were doing a lot of like the same thing over and over a few times. But then again, like again, this is a debut, so I'm willing to give it, you know, a little bit more slack, especially because I just was not expecting that exploration of theme to be done so well for what this is. Like, is it the best I've ever seen? No, but I was not expecting it at all here, so it was such a pleasant surprise. So that's why I feel like this is such a good book for people who are like 14, 15 years old, especially boys who, you know, it's hard to have those conversations with them. So like, this is such like, I feel like it's so great that I have a recommendation for me to say, if you have a 14, 15-year-old boy and you want to use fiction to have these very complex conversations about parental abuse, war, the fallouts of war, the consequences on our person, on our humanity, like PTSD and panic attacks because of war, toxic masculinity, and how it is okay to feel all of your feelings and not sever yourself from them. And again, having an abusive parent, like this is this is one of those works that really stands apart from a lot in this similar like range of books that I would recommend for like 14, 15-year-old dudes. This is really set apart, and for that reason, like I'm very glad that it exists. And I'm proud of the author for doing, you know, what he did here. And this is something that I would buy for my kid, not because it's like the greatest prose. Also, there's a lot of like he put his paw in her paw, and because everything's paws and not hands, so that is a little funny, like reading it over and over. Like you can't help but laugh. Like it's funny. It's supposed to be serious, but it's funny. But like actually not even 14, 15. I would say that this is good for like 11 through 15-year-old boys. Like I would want, well, maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to reevaluate when my kids are actually that age. But I feel like especially for like older kids, like 13 to 15, this is a book that kids need. So that we can use fantasy to navigate these incredibly hard conversations, and then they can use them to understand ideas and concepts and promote conversation about them. So like, if you are a librarian, you might want to consider stocking this. If you are the parent of a, what is that age range called? I don't know, youth. A youthan. Young you might want to consider grabbing this.
A youthan. A youthan. Oh man.
For like a reader in your life. Oh, man. I mean, it's a good book for everybody, but particularly because we are trying to have those conversations with kids about masculinity, especially when there is like the Andrew Tates who exist out there and are absolutely poisoning those same kids' minds. Having fiction like this is how we combat that. I realize that that's not really a book review, and I'm so sorry. I was so pleasantly surprised, and I was not expecting that. And as a mom of boys, sorry, I just think about my kids and I cry. So I was really pleasantly surprised and really happy about that, and for that reason, like, I gave it a 4 just because like that was so unexpected, and I was so pleased.
Now I'm gonna cry. Why is she crying? What are you doing? Stop it. Oh wow. I didn't expect that. It's what. Yeah. No, I am incomplete. I hate saying, oh, I agree with your criticism as the author, because, like, you don't need to have the author's approval to have a critique. And I think in regards to all of the unfortunate stuff with how authors have treated Rachel, a lot of them are people who don't understand when you put something out into a public sphere, people can be as mean about shit as they want. Obviously, there's a line. There's some stuff that you shouldn't say or be mean about. But, like, putting your work out there, you have to understand that critique's critique. I would say you don't have to agree with any of it, not any of it, or all of it. So, for instance, Rachel brings up here, she found the dialogue wonky. I'm assuming she's saying in the prologue, because you know what, I'd agree. In the prologue, especially the second half of the prologue, with the birth scene, which, again, I'm the head of my hands, I completely agree the dialogue's wonky. I think it took me a bit to break out of the sort of stupor I'd been in writing this so much again and again. But again, the point is she doesn't need my blessing for that to be good critique. I just agree with it because that's I think it's also wonky dialogue. But then you'd also have, if she thinks other parts in the book are wonky dialogue, you see, I hate saying it, I disagree because I thought, like, it was quite, I don't know, quite casual, quite human. I think stuff other people have said is they really like interactions between Corsair and Axel. They also like how, for something that's meant to be, I guess, medieval, it's fantasy, so medieval era isn't really correct because the medieval era is historical. You get what I mean? It's sort of swords and medieval weaponry. The dialogue they found it was quite funny, but also good in a more accessible, that it wasn't trying to emulate medieval conversation, which, God, that would have been such a pain in the ass to do. But even then, you know, I've said now that if the dialogue comment is actually being extended to the whole book and not just the prologue section, even though I disagree with it, you don't have to then go and voice your overt disagreement with something about it to try and show that they're wrong, or to harass someone for it, which a lot of authors seem to do. You don't have to take every piece of critique on board, is what I'm trying to say. Because otherwise you're not writing it for yourself and you're not having your own vision. You're now trying to appeal and appease the subjective interpretations of many, many different people, and a lot of it will clash and it won't be good. What I am saying is that if you do disagree with a piece of critique, don't have a knee-jerk reaction, embrace it, be thankful for the fact someone spent the time being critical of your work, and then take into account what does work to improve your stuff and what doesn't work to improve your stuff. For instance, I've now understood I should never write a birth scene again. So now you will not see a birth scene for the rest of the series, and I think everyone can breathe a sigh of relief. We're not going to see a birth scene. God, that scene's fucking awful. It's awful. It's so bad. I mean, the scene itself is okay, but, the dialogue for it ruined it. There were people who read it, close friends of mine, and they said, yeah, Harrison, if I was in that situation, I'd tell Arthur to shut up. It's just so dumb. Oh.
The conversations surrounding masculinity. Bell Hooks would be proud of this book.
Oh,
if Bell Hooks were alive still, and if she read books about anthropomorphized animals, which again, I know that's really kind of odd, and it's objectively funny to play these things out in your head. I think that she would be very proud of this book. Okay, I've got one more for you, and then I have to...
Oh, okay. So that was solid. All right. She said 3.5. She gave it a 4. Of course, she said the intended rating was 3.5, so it's a 3.5. That's a 7 out of 10. And I'm in uni right now, and you know what a 7 out of 10 is? 7 out of 10, that's a first. That's the best you can get. Of course, you can do better, and it's not a 100% carryover because, what is it? It's not 100% carryover because in uni, 70% is a first, and going up you continue to still get the same grade. With literary ratings, getting higher, you can get higher than a 3.5 and a 4, and you can get a 5, and that is quantifiably different. But yeah, I'm very happy with that, and I'm happy that was so affecting for her. I'm glad that was so affecting. Again, I haven't spoken about this before, but I do think it's both a blessing and a curse. But I think in the grand scheme of the series, the Sharpened Fangs will be the weakest one. It's a drawback because you want to start off on a strong foot, or hind paw, as the series would say. And you want to start off on that because you want people to engage with it. And if you have a great start, people are going to grapple with it more and be more willing to engage. This stuff about the masculinity happens later on in the book, so I can't really ride the merit of that. I have to hope someone is willing. I'm making it sound like it's awful. It's not, and a lot of people have enjoyed it. But what I am saying is that it doesn't start off on this sort of home run swing. It's like maybe a first base, maybe a second base run. I'm not getting struck out, but it's not the home run I was aiming for. But that's fine. And the blessing of that is now I have a solid, good baseline of enjoyment, and it can only go up from here unless I truly fuck it up somehow. It can only go up from here, which means people, I hope, that have gotten to the first one will continue to love it even more. I'm really thankful for that feedback. Again, I find it so interesting she's visualized it as the Robin Hood thing. On the topic of the whole paws and hands thing, that was such a... I went with paws because the paws they have are obviously posable thumbs. You know what it is, so they can grab stuff, all of that. So for all intents and purposes, it's a hand, but it's more so just a paw. It's difficult to describe. You have a lot of this with anthromedia. Well, we know what the word is, furry media. I avoid using it because when people hear the word furry, they don't tend to take it seriously. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but there's a lot of furry media, quote unquote, out there that just tends to ride on the gimmick of, or tends to just rest on the fact that it's using anthro characters. And for a lot of people, because there's not a lot of anthro media, it means that they can ride on that merit, and they've got almost like a unique selling point in that the story being good doesn't actually have to matter. And that might sound a bit pretentious, but there's a very, very big visual novel that uses anthropomorphic characters, a cast of anthropomorphic characters called Winds of Change. And if you look on Steam, it's got, I believe, an overwhelmingly positive rating. You have people loving it, saying they love the characters, all of this, and that they're just in love with the writing. And I'm saying this in a complete, without any malice, it's not. It's very bad. I have a friend who loves visual novels and is also a furry, so like that was right up their alley, and we went through it together in a voice call, and unfortunately it's laughable. It's not that good. And this isn't me being like, it's laughable because I'm the king of writing with the Sharpened Fangs on a 3.5 score. You should come to me next time for tips, But I'm just saying it because it's just not good. I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was lame. It was very cliche, generic, and the world building, again, you have such a great opportunity for world building with anthro characters because it's so far removed from a human world, and they did absolutely nothing with it. It was a very generic world building where it did the sort of teen dystopian novels where it would be like the monarchy, the triumvirate, the rebellion. Like, they didn't even try and use different languages. They didn't try and use any interesting names for things. It was just the noun. That's it. Article, noun. But that was it for every noun. So I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but I just wanted to make the point that for a lot of anthromedia, unfortunately, in spite of all of those glaring flaws that had, you have people who just tend to love it regardless because it just has anthro people in it. And that becomes a bit of a problem because people hear the word furry and there are plenty of connotations that word has. I don't even necessarily identify with it. I just find anthro characters cool to write about. But people hear that word, there's a lot of negative connotation, a lot of it undeserved, some of it deserved, because you have some people who are quite peculiar. And especially with some of the media, it tends to be quite shallow, doesn't have a lot of meaning or detail, stuff like that. It tends to be quite... it's difficult to describe, but it's in the same vein of Winds of Change, where it's not particularly something that you can really sink your teeth into. And that's why I was so hesitant to use that as a word to describe Vos Draymar, because while anyone who's had any sort of time on the internet can see this and go, yep, that's furry writing, it's just the moment you use that word to some people who necessarily don't notice that, they immediately have negative connotations about it, about the writing, but also about maybe the source material, all of that stuff. So that's why I'm so hesitant to use that. But I am quite happy with where the series is going. I'm very happy with the Sharpened Fangs. I mean, again, Rachel pointed out a bunch of critiques there for the book, and I completely agree with all that she said. But it's also, I've put so much work and effort into this that as my first major debut into traditional publishing, or not traditional publishing because Chronicles was published by Tiger Publication, but you get what I mean. Again, after like 7 years, pretty much 4 to 7 years, you know, it's big for me, and I love the Sharpened Fangs because it's such a vessel of creative passion I've had over the last few years. And on top of that as well, I genuinely believe that it's a great stepping stone, a great start for the rest of the series to really do well. And again, Rachel is a veteran of, I mean, like, look at that shelf. Look at all the stuff. She's had half a book she references in her videos. I'm sitting here as someone who writes, and I'm like, huh? What? Huh? What is that book? I haven't read in ages. So to have such mighty praise on those themes, and for her to also, like, with tears in her eyes, you know, sort of saying, oh God, I'm going to cry because I'm thinking about my kids, something like that, and having it be adjacent. To have her say that while saying she gave it a 4 stars, 3.5 stars, just means a lot. I'm really thankful for the feedback. I really enjoyed watching this video. I don't think we'll watch to the end, because I was assuming mine would come last, so I was like, yeah, we'll watch the whole video. But now I think I will watch the rest in my own time, and we'll call it here. So I think now I'm just covering some stuff that I've wanted to discuss that she brought up. Again, I find it so interesting she visualized it in that way, with the whole Disney Robin Hood thing. I find that so interesting she visualized it that way. A grimdark Disney is such a funny phrase. And yeah, because again, like, I have a completely different visual for how the book is told and the lens of which is told. I tend to visualize it almost like a movie. Of course, don't write your book as if you're writing a movie, because that does not translate well. Those are two completely different mediums. But that's how I visualize it. And I think if it got an animated series, which is that's the dream, like an animated show for it, if it ever got popular enough for that, I'd want it done. The original inspiration was the Armello game by League of Geeks. And, you know, Corsair isn't based off Fane, but, like, originally I was writing this as, like, an Armello sort of fanfic that I wanted to become a published book for them. And then that didn't pan out, and instead I wanted to make it something my own, so I completely overhauled it to be my own thing. But yeah, I'd say absolutely it would be a similar animation style to, I think, Armello, or maybe something even grittier, like... It's difficult because the mind is such like a weird thing when it's generating images and all of that. But yeah, it's so interesting to see that Rachel visualized it this way, other people visualized it differently, and that's so satisfying to hear about. There's such a great testament to subjective interpretation and how people sort of process the imagery that's being shown there. Overall, I'm glad she enjoyed it. She says it's pretty. I think she said pretty damn good for a debut. So I'm very happy about that. Again, the criticism that she's given, I will take on board, especially the birth one, because again, that is not, you're not going to see that for Vostdramer. You will see me in 10 years when I've learned how to write a birth scene, and that will come up, I'm sure, another IP, but I'm very, very thankful for all of this. I'm also thankful for the people who have given it, you know, the series a shot. But I stream on Twitch and I do stuff on YouTube, and that's sort of my main creative outlet alongside of writing. I've gotten into a lot of creative stuff as I've grown up in school and uni, so I've had a lot of free time to do this. I'm sure as I get a job, that time will become a lot less, but ultimately I'm very thankful that people gave it a shot, because a lot of people who have read my work are people from that I've met through Twitch, you know, the small but present community we have around my Twitch and my YouTube. Like, these are people who have read it and enjoyed it. And to see my book have like a 4.5 overall rating out of 5 is such a great feeling. And I'm very thankful for the shot people have given my work, because again, you know, you hear about someone who makes like YouTube videos or does streaming and then making a book, and there's a lot of case studies about how well that doesn't go. If it's an autobiography or it's just like a not well written story, you hear that happen a lot. So I'm glad that people have really enjoyed it and they've gone, oh, this this guy actually can write something enjoyable. So, again, about the masculinity thing, I'm glad that was so affecting, because subconsciously I think that became a lot more interwoven in regards to the stuff with Arthur Cedrid, and Corsair's relationship. The stuff with War, showing War to be terrible, was a lot more deliberate. When I made one of the first drafts of this, and my mum, who's my #1 fan, read through it, she was like, I like that the battle scenes at Pothole Plains here, that he's freaking out and having like a really bad time and losing his mind during this. I like that, and I like that it wasn't, he didn't come to the first battle and he was a war hero, or like that he was some sort of, showed some great acts of bravery, all of this stuff going on. But with the masculinity stuff, that war stuff there is deliberate, but the masculinity stuff is a lot more maybe subconscious, maybe you're subconsciously interweave that, or maybe it's just all being from the interpretation. But I'm glad that is the overarching understanding, because again, from that conversation with Corsair and Axel, my stance that I believe isn't just a stance, but I think a very healthy way to go about the world for a lot of people, for a lot of young men especially, is to just go, I'm a man, and however I present in my masculinity is fine, and that doesn't change my identity. If I decide to do my hair a certain way, use makeup, dress differently to how men would dress, then that's fine. And Axel as a character isn't intended to be like a very effeminate kind of guy or something like that. Like, he is, I'd say, absolutely just like a male wolf who's comfortable in his masculinity. But I think then being comfortable in your masculinity means being able to experiment and do stuff like braiding your tail, or in more human analogies, do stuff like wearing your hair differently, or tying up your hair, wearing makeup, all of that stuff, I'm glad that has been detected, because that was deliberate. And again, I think it's very healthy for people to have that sort of freedom to understand that how you view yourself isn't dependent on how you look or how you present all the time. I've seen from another great YouTuber who does stuff about books called Cloud Cuckoo Country, who is a furry, but sorry, I'm saying that like, oh, they're a furry, so they can't have good media analysis. No, I'm just saying that so maybe something like this would appeal to them more. But they did speak about this on their Twitter, and they said how they struggled with masculinity because they were constantly worrying about, am I meeting these standards? Are people seeing me as being masculine? I'm really trying to be viewed this way. And eventually someone said something to them about how being masculine is just up to you, and ultimately you should be comfortable being as you are, and no one can take away your identity from you just because maybe you look different or you present differently. And the moment Cloud decided to present differently in their masculinity, or rather to just not give a shit, not care about meeting these very high standards of masculinity, they felt freer, they felt happier, and I think that is just such a positive lesson, to have to, what is it, Bella Hooks or something? Sorry, I'm Hook Bell. I've forgotten the name already, but Noah Sampson's brought it up a lot. But to have even jokingly Rachel say that Bella Hooks would have loved this book or something like that, or would have been really impressed with this, or something along those lines, is massively reassuring. Not reassuring, but it's rewarding. I'm glad that's resonated so much. Again, I think as the bottom line to all of this, I'm very happy Rachel enjoyed it so much as a veteran reviewer. I'm very happy a lot of it meant a lot in regards to war, abuse, stuff with family and masculinity. I'm glad that was just so potent for her, and hopefully for a bunch of other readers as well. There was actually a comment I have to quickly bring up, and it's tangentially related. It's more so to do with LGBT representation. And I'm gushing about this now, so I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, look how good I am on social issues, guys. I'm just talking about LGBT rep, because in the series it is intended that there will be gay people, LGBT denominations in there. For instance, in the second book, or rather throughout the whole series, people who are from the Nadatic League and people who are in the Kingdom of Serpents don't have male or female genders. They are just they, them, and that is their own interpretation. And that is something I want to, feature as being obviously a good thing, because, like, why shouldn't it be a good thing? Why shouldn't people be able to identify that way? LGBT rep is integral to Vostrema. But one of the things that really, really stuck with me was there's the interrogation scene between Vala and Ophelia after Corsair's murdered a legionnaire in like a fit of rage, and he's run off, and Ophelia's covering his tracks. There's the interrogation, and Vala is talking about how he knew that Corsair had come to her afterwards on the assumption that his own pups, his own pups, sorry, my brain stopped for a second, his own pups would come to him and his husband if something had gone wrong. Vala has a husband. And there was a reader who's a friend of mine who left, a list of, stuff they enjoyed, critiques, all of that. Overall, they really enjoyed it. But what they did say that really stuck out to them, that actually made them feel giddy, that I was really happy about, was that during that conversation where Vala says that he has a husband, there's no reaction. There's no, fanfare about it. There's no overt reaction to it that would suggest it's not a normal thing. Because he says, oh, I have a husband, and that's treated and played off as a completely normal, innocuous thing in the world of Vostrema, he was really happy to have representation played that way, and it made him feel giddy. And that was also something I was really, really happy to resonate with him. I have that actual message screenshotted on my computer, and I've saved it into a folder called Ego Boost, because that just means so much. That representation made him feel so happy. And that is the kind of representation that will be visible throughout Vostrema. In earlier drafts, I was writing about, I'd have a villain character like make a adjacent homophobic comment or something implicitly homophobic in regards to, you're dating them, haha, that's your fling, that kind of thing, and pointing that out. But then I was like, why should that be pointed out? Ultimately, LGBT people, while media that talks about homophobia is very, very important and, has done a lot for this discussion, there's also, LGBT people just also want to consume media that isn't always playing off sexuality as a tragedy story, especially in a fictional world. Like, I don't know why so many people who create these fictional worlds will then shackle it to like real world traces of bigotry. Like, I don't know what it was. There was some fantasy series that was being made into a real adaptation, a film adaptation, movie adaptation, series adaptation. And they were talking about how most of the characters in positions of like soldiers or monarchs will be men, because that historically reflects like how, the sexism of the time. But then again, like, you've made a deliberate decision as the world builder to retain that in your story. And that just doesn't make sense to me, because ultimately you're writing a piece of media for the enjoyment of people. So why should women not be able to, relate to or be able to have joy in seeing a female character in a prominent position? That's what I just don't get in regards to that. But anyway, a bit of a tangent that was kind of related to what Rachel was saying and the whole masculinity stuff. I'm glad that was so affecting. I hope she did genuinely enjoy the story and the characters. That wasn't brought up a lot during that. I assume on the 3.54 star rating that she did enjoy it, and because otherwise I'm sure I've watched her videos and stuff she doesn't enjoy. She would have publicly executed me. So I'm sure she enjoyed that as well. Obviously she's brought up the masculinity stuff and the abuse stuff and all of that because that was more prominent. But I'm very happy she enjoyed it as much as she did. There is more books in the series. I don't want to, not because I wouldn't want her to review it more or to enjoy it more. She's already read this book. I don't know if I want to just immediately be like, hey, you're behind on commissions, now read my second one, here's money, do it now. That shit. I mean, anyway, the second book, there's so much shit going on the publisher's end anyway that it would be difficult to try and send her a physical copy or a digital copy. But yeah, I'm very thankful for the review. I'm very thankful to be featured on it. It's so surreal to have someone that I've been watching, I think for the last half a year now, to review it and go over it and to really, really enjoy it. Like a smile on their face, enjoy it. And I'm very thankful that she spent her very valuable time reading it. I'm very thankful for that. I'm not going to watch the rest of this video. I'll watch it in my own time. I won't watch it on this because this video is long enough anyway. And I want to end on a note about the book because that's why we're here. But yeah, thank you very much, Rachel, for reviewing that. thank you guys for watching this reaction, and to everyone who is waiting on book 2, genuine apologies. I'm apologizing like it's my fault, but I understand it's been ages since you guys have seen a whiff of the second book, and all I can do, it's out of my hands. All I can do is wait and email them monthly to see if they're gonna fix anything. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you, Rachel, for the review, and that's it.